All right, Eric Williams in today for Groz. We had a lot of Seahawks talk on the show today, and we actually had you on the program the other day, and you brought up some names that you saw. You were out there for the combine, all for the entire thing, and you brought up a couple defensive guys we had talked about. But another area that the Seahawks may be looking, wide receiver, maybe not as pressing as the defense, but some guys that you saw at the combine that may have caught your eye. That Seahawks potentially, they've got 10 picks.
Yeah.
You figure they might use 1, 2, or 5 of them on a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Any receivers stick out to you?
Yeah, I think when you look at the receiving core, they don't really have a backup for Sidney Rice, a guy that can kind of do the things that he can do offensively, stretch the field, guy with his size. Justin Hunter out of Tennessee, I think, might make some sense. Maybe not in the first round, but in the second round. 6'4", 200 pounds, ran a 4.46 40-yard time. Really smooth getting in and out of his breaks for a big guy, and natural hands catcher, a guy that can stretch the field for you. He's a guy that receivers coach Kippy Brown for the Seahawks actually recruited when he was at Tennessee as the interim guy, so he's familiar with him. I think that guy makes some sense. Another guy that said that he talked to the Seahawks at the combine is Louisiana Tech receiver Quinton Patton. This guy's about 6 foot, 200 pounds, really elusive, does a nice job once he gets the ball in the open field of making guys miss. Can be a guy that can help you in the return game as well. He's a guy that could make sense late first round, early second round. But the guy that really impressed me in being able to watch him was Tavon Austin out of West Virginia. And there were some question marks about, could this guy be a polished route runner at the next level? Because when you saw the film, a lot of bubble screens, a lot of getting out of the backfield or throwing it out of the backfield. You didn't really see him run the route tree, but being able to watch him at the combine, this dude is a legit dude. I mean, he's got great speed. He does a nice job of being able to change gears to make people miss, and very polished route runner. And I think he's a guy, he might not be there at 25. You might have to move up to get him. Darren Sproles was the name that was mentioned when you looked at comparisons.
Right.
Percy Harvin a little bit, but he's not as big as Percy.
Would you see them going after a guy like that, though, if he were available, or are they set on a big guy? Because it seems like the Seahawks, whether it's defense, whether it's offense, they like big players outside of Russell Wilson. Could you see them doing that, though?
Maybe, just because of the playmaking ability, but you're right. They like guys that are bigger. When they're looking at receivers, they want guys at least 6 feet. But Tavon's a unique player, a playmaker, a guy that can come in and make an immediate impact. So I think he might make some sense, even though he doesn't necessarily meet the size ratio that they like in a receiver.
What about the other thing that comes up is tight end. You got Zach Miller there, and he could be a guy we're talking about, cap situations and a salary. Well, I don't know if it's this year, but maybe next year. But I don't know where this team is at with McCoy. If there's a belief in him in the future, or if they're looking like, okay, we need to address this position. But is tight end, in your estimation, a need for this team? And is McCoy a guy that you think they still believe in?
I think McCoy is still a guy that they think could potentially, help them long term, although he hasn't really shown it in terms of consistency. Certainly there's a couple guys out there that make some sense. The guy out of Stanford, I think it's Zach Ertz. And then I think the kid out of Notre Dame, Tyler Eifert.
Right.
Those two dudes could make some sense because they're both guys that can stretch the middle of the defense in terms of running seam routes and can play right away for you. Certainly would be an upgrade. But I wouldn't discount McCoy being a part of this team moving forward just because of the talent level, and even for a guy his size, in terms of his ability to create separation, he's also a pretty good run blocker, so he's a nice fit in terms of what they want to do with the 2 tight end sets.
So 10 picks they've got to work with there. If they keep them all, obviously they can address the offense as well as the defense. So a couple of names Eric Williams gave you there to keep your eye on.